We want to welcome our panel now. April Montgomery, who's also in the package, is a Frederick County School Board candidate, and Marisa Perez-Diaz is with the Texas State Board of Education. She joins us live via Zoom. You know, one of the things that was just pointed out, Ms. Montgomery, was transparency. It seems to be a simple formula. If you want to teach something to our kids, make the parents aware, get them involved, and if it's something that is secret and you don't want the parents to know, then that becomes very troubling for a parent and for the school overall. Why would they not want the parent involved in the process?
You ask a good question. I mean, I don't think that it is, I think a lack of transparency is a serious issue for everybody. Making sure that we have transparency helps to build that trust between teachers and parents that is seriously lacking right now, which leads to what? It leads to parents not believing in the process. It leads to parents not having respect for the teachers, which then inevitably leads to students not having respect for the teachers. And that's not fair, because a lot of this stuff coming down the curriculum, it is not coming from the teachers. It is coming from the state. It is coming from curriculum writers. It is coming through many different facets. And the teachers are kind of like the servers at a restaurant, right? They're the face. They are there with the kids. They are in the trenches, and they do not deserve to be treated with disrespect. However, when there's that lack of transparency, you get that lack of trust. We've seen it in Frederick County big time, to the point where they are taking power away from the board and giving it to committees that are made up of students and community members that are approving curriculum, they're approving materials, they're approving lots of things. And for parents, this is very frustrating because those meetings are not televised.
Ms. Perez-Diaz, I know you're the youngest person who happened to be Latino ever elected in the state of Texas to the school board. You've advocated successfully, including an African-American curriculum, a Mexican-American curriculum, and now they're talking about a health curriculum. Does this in some way marginalize and further divide and segregate the kids, or is this necessary? Or do you have to satisfy every special interest group when a problem arises and someone cries, I'm being marginalized and I'm not represented?
Well, you know, I'll start by saying, again, thank you for having me on again, Armstrong. It's a pleasure to be back with you. So this isn't about pandering to any kind of special interest group. This is specifically about meeting the needs of our students in the classrooms. And so any policymaker in a position of that has a platform, in a position of power that is supposed to be creating policy for our students, if they're not centering students' needs, then that's a problem. And if you're prioritizing special interests over that, then that's a problem. So it's interesting, a couple of things that I'd heard just now, you know, I think that there was some irony, I think in what Miss April, I think, said just a little while ago. She asked for campaign donations because she's trying to beat the unions and people with big money. And historically,
you're speaking of Tiffany Noble.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tiffany Noble. Yes,
okay.
I'm sorry, Miss April. You're the one that we're on with me now. Yeah, and so what's interesting to me is just the dichotomy, because typically those two organizations have been on opposite ends, and so there's some sort of, for me, there's some sort of similarity in terms of what we're trying to accomplish, and that ultimately is making sure that our young people in schools don't feel like they don't have a place in the classroom. At the end of the day, this is not. And I very much appreciate family voice, and I very much appreciate student voice. I think, April, what you spoke to right now about committees that are built on community members and students, that's the way we should be helping to democratize decision-making, because the policies that we're making at the state level directly impact how our students are growing and learning. And so this is important. And I can tell you, I have learned so much in listening to our young people. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes is that the adults in the process, for fear of the unknown or whatever the pushback may be, tend to get in the way of what students truly want. And that's to learn not only about their peers, but about how to navigate within really diverse settings. And that includes everything from, you know, racial and ethnic diversity to gender and sexuality diversity. And so this is not about special interest. This is truly about educating all of our students, not just particular populations of students who have always been served.
You know, it seems as though Ms. Perez-Diaz is implying that we should trust the children and that the parents could probably complicate things. But there's a reason why we call them children and parents adults, because there's a certain wisdom and experience that parents have that children cannot navigate. And sometimes children can be very impressionable, manipulated, and indoctrinated.
I think that takes away a little power.
Let me have Ms. Montgomery respond to that. Ms.
Oh, I
Montgomery.
appreciate that. I think it's interesting because that is definitely something that I was going to say is when we start giving kids all the say in their education, since when did children know exactly what they need to be taught? They don't. They have parents for that. And it's really important that there are adults that are overseeing what is taught to these children. I think that when you take the parents out of it, the parents have been raising these kids and teaching them since they were born. It's important to make sure that they have a voice when it comes to their education. Right now, they're implementing so many things that have nothing to do with academics. And I think that's where a lot of parents are getting very frustrated. We need to get back to basics. These kids need to know how to read, write. They need to learn about history, science, and the arts. We have a serious lack or a delay in learning because of everything that these kids have been through over the last 2 years. It is really important that we concentrate on academics. And I think you're absolutely right when you say that by pandering to every single small group, you're forgetting the majority. And all of these other children, that's a problem. You can teach respect and love for everybody through example, by being a leader. And most teachers do that. But I think that by adding all of these other things into the curriculum and having students vote on it, student members of the board or just members of the community that were appointed by board members and not elected by the county, that's a problem.